I am Daniel Likis, and welcome to Book 101. Book 101 is all about the books that I read for the last 40 years. And today, I have my special guest. He's an award winning author, motivational speaker, and, of course, business consultant. No other than Mr. Horace Crenshaw Jr. Welcome to Book 101, Mr. Horace.
Well, thank you, Daniel. Thank you for the opportunity. I'm just excited to discuss my book, Blowing Sandstorm in particular. Of course, I have several books, but it was the first book that I wrote, and so it's definitely a book that inspires, motivates, encourages those who maybe feel downtrodden to encourage them to find their extra boost. And once you get a copy of Blowing Sandstorm, you will not be able to put it down. As you stated, it's a 2021 Firebird Book Award winner, and so we're excited about that and several other projects that we're working on. Thank you.
Congratulations, Mr. Horace. So, can you please introduce yourself more?
Yeah, so I'm Horace Crenshaw. Yeah, I of course wrote Blowing Sandstorm based on my experiences as a young Army captain in 2003 during the initial stages of Operation Iraqi Freedom. I did 23 and a half years in the United States Army and the United States Army Reserves. So I come from a background, a military perspective. The book, of course, in and of itself. I'm not going to talk about the book. You asked me to talk about myself. So, of course, I just mentioned that I spent 23 and a half years of my life in the United States Army and the United States Army Reserves. Of course, a lot of everything that I discuss in Blowing Sandstorm, in particular myself, is kind of a memoir and a brief discussion of my early childhood. I originally, I'm originally from a little small town called Meridian, Mississippi. A population of about maybe 35 to 40,000 people. Of course, also, I was born in Meridian, but formative years were spent in a little small area in Alabama called Choctaw County, Butler, Alabama. So yeah, and so I was actually um, inspired to write when I was a young child, and I was at the age of 5 years old. I just took a pen and piece of paper at the time, and probably pencil at the time. As I recall, and just started writing. And the first book that I wrote was half the prize-winning Horace. And so it took, of course, several decades for me to actually get it published. And so that's my second book. So yeah, the business consultant side, of course, I, have worked in project and program management. And so I'll offer, business consulting and marketing for several businesses in terms of how to get government contracts. I actually writing, statements of work for government contract solicitations. So then also, I am also a certified golf instructor. So I also teach golf and also have that business as well too. So, but yeah, what's near and dear to my heart, of course, is my writing, and of course, that is. I feel like that is an opportunity for me to reach, more readers and people that want to be inspired and motivated whenever they have, various obstacles in life. So, yeah.
So, Mr. Horace, Blowing Sandstorm, what behind the title?
Well, again, it was some of the experiences that that occurred during the initial stages of Operation Iraqi Freedom. I was put in charge of 180 to 200 soldiers that had never trained together. They were from 7 states within the United States, of course, and we were able to accomplish magnificent and tremendous, awesome achievements. We were able to receive, distribute over 100 million gallons of petroleum throughout Kuwait and Iraq from 2003 to 2004. We were part of one of the largest logistical achievements in modern military warfare. So I thought that was worthy of me to, capture that experience, and some of the twists and turns of what life can present you with. Sometimes you can be up, and in this case, you got this monumental task. Nobody knows that you're coming into the war zone, and then you're thrust into the war zone, and you having to perform and produce and support support U.S. and coalition forces. You're supporting thousands and thousands of military personnel and their equipment. So I thought that was one of the main reasons why I decided to write Blowing Sandstorm. Actually, I wrote it during a sandstorm. So
Yes.
So
sounds interesting, Mr. Horace.
yeah.
So let's talk about the negative reviews. It says people with military background who can understand the terminologies without explanation, or for those who are not interested, every bit of the detail related to Iraq war. So how would you comment on that?
Well, again, I think that from that perspective, you want to be able to relate, not necessarily the military jargon or the military wording of it, but I wanted to try to convey across to the reader that whatever situation you find yourself in, that adversity would you can draw strength in any situation. And it'll propel you to do magnificent things, and of course, from that perspective, others that review, of course, didn't see it from that perspective, but it was from a perspective of, feeling, downtrodden and, not knowing what to do. Then, of course, finding the spirit within yourself that we all have, that innate, that internal intestinal fortitude to persevere and rise above the occasion. And that was one of the main reasons why I wrote the book. And of course, everybody can pick up on the military aspect of it, but of course, in terms of how you relate to life experiences, I think we can all relate to that.
Very well said, Mr. Harris. And one of your reviews says great perspective on the challenges associated with the leading of unit during the time of war, according to Miss Monica Womack.
Oh yes. Yeah. We thank Miss Womack for her impeccable work. She is a film producer herself, so I thought that was a great review, and really appreciate her kind and compassionate words.
As award-winning author, how does it feel?
Yeah, so I've actually been a contributing author on 2 books. 2 books, of course, that are they're spiritual in nature, and of course a deep in terms of Christianity. So and in my experiences, and applying faith to your experiences. And of course, like I mentioned, I wrote half the prize-winning Horace, which was a self-published book. And I'm working on another book that should be completed by the end of this year, hopefully.
Yes.
And I'm working in that book. It's going to be talking about the dangers of reckless driving and what the consequences can be. A family that is basically torn apart based on the decisions of some childish pleasure, of wanting to go fast. So, and which is kind of in the news now because there was a University of Georgia football player who has aspirations of going to NFL. He found himself in a situation. He's finding himself in a situation like that. Reckless driving and end up, had there was some fatalities. So those are my books, and we're just excited, and I think any reader could really relate to any of my books that I've written. So,
Definitely interesting. So, blowing Sandstorm, what is the best highlight?
well, it's all about inspiration. I recall the time when the soldiers that I had under my command, we were had a myriad of tasks. We didn't know what to do, and one of the things I always mentioned and was trained during my training in the military was I had when I was actually a young cadet in Army ROTC. Uh, my professor of military science, he would always inspire us with some words that he would say. And I think the words the words that he would say during our formations was, "We have come so far with so little for so long that we feel that we can do anything with absolutely nothing." And so, if you apply that principle in your life, you can do great and magnificent things. And I always encourage my soldiers, the soldiers that was under my command, with those words. Always think about it that we came so far. Training in Philadelphia, Pennsylvania, and Fort Dix, New Jersey, and the frozen tundra of Fort Dix, New Jersey, in 2003, all the way until participating in a operation where we had a significant role in that particular operation. And so those were some of the significant events, how we pushed from Camp Arif John in Kuwait all the way to Iraq, in doing it under some severe conditions, constantly under threat of attack, with all the fuel that we carried and the fuel that we stored. It was quite a monumental accomplishment. So.
Yes, and according to Miss Cynthia, truly an inspirational read. What are the elements you crafted to the book that make your book inspirational?
Well, I applaud the, if you was building a rocket, how would you build a rocket? And in this case, the rocket that I had to build is I want to get, I want to accomplish every mission that was, that we were ordered and tasked to accomplish. So I used the rocket method. And so that was one of the things that it talks about the rocket method in the book. Also, it talks about just reliance on faith, reliance on in having others encourage you. Had an army chaplain that encouraged me by gifting me with some kind, words and some spiritual words when we were at Fort Dix, from other soldiers that served under me. By writing letters, to me to encourage me. So those are primarily the pivotal points that I want to highlight in the book, and definitely want to emphasize, and encourage others to, be inspired, motivated, encouraged, and be and to persevere in the midst of any situation that you find yourself in.
Very well said. Miss Abiel said, change in perspective. What are the elements you inputted to the book that make people, oh, this another kind of, book that we need to read?
Well, just the overall elements of self-sacrifice, being a servant leader, being someone who is willing to make the necessary adjustments to uplift, motivate, encourage. Those are primarily the pivotal aspects that and elements in the book that I try to accentuate and emphasize within the book. So, yeah.
So, Mr. Horace, how many days a month you wrote this book?
Oh, actually, it's interesting. The interesting story about this book was I wrote it in 2003. Like I said, in the middle of a sandstorm, and it lay dormant because I had it in. I just put it aside in the footlocker because I guess maybe I was a little apprehensive because I was still in uniform, and I didn't want to, put the U.S. Army in a bad light in terms of some of the logistical challenges that we faced over in Kuwait at the port when we first was able to retrieve our equipment out of the port. But it lay dormant for about 12 years, and then I resurrected it, if you will. No pun intended on that, but brought it back to life and polished it up, and got it published. It was initially published in 2015. The publisher went out of business that I had, of course, Take Publishing, but it was republished in 2019 under Yorkshire Publishing. And so, like I said, the book it lay dormant, and I'm just so thankful and happy and blessed that I was able to, that I had the wherewithal to go ahead and get it published.
Definitely. So, do you think Blowing Storm will good for a series or good for a movie?
Oh, absolutely. I love that. Of course. Yeah, that's one of the things that we're aiming for. I get scripts publishings all the time. About you put it you submit your book, and if it's chosen, you could possibly get a producer, a film producer to take a look at it and craft it into into a movie script, or whatever. So yeah, that's always a long term. That's always a long term ambition of mine. I just wanted to get it to the readers, and just get encouragement and motivation in the hands of someone who, like I said, may be in a situation where they find themselves in a bad situation, and knowing that they can triumph and make it, and it's all within them. But they have to really want to do that. They have to motivate themselves to want to do that.
Definitely. So, if Blowing Storm is award winning, do you think it will go to a series or it will go to a movie, motion picture? Do you think it will be nominated to Oscars, Emmy, or award winning bodies?
Yes, yes. I think that it's a compelling story. It's one that that needs to be told, about some of the challenges in logistics that you face during modern warfare. And it's, like I said, it's a story of pulling yourself up by your bootstraps, and um, the extra boost is within you. The extra boost is that the overall faith and determination that you have. The extra boost could come in the form of a sandstorm that's blowing, in the middle of the night. So
Yes,
in Iraq, so yeah, so those are the extra boosts that we have in life. It's a situation, a circumstance, or it could be a person that could provide something, a little nugget of information that could possibly inspire you, to motivate you, to take whatever steps you need to take to pull yourself up, and and to strive for greatness.
so Blowing Storm is like your memoir.
Yes, it is a combination of a memoir and actual, of course, actual experiences, that me and my unit faced during the initial stages of the Iraq War. Yeah.
So before we go on, Mr. Horace, I just want to shout out to the people listening from my top 16 to 30 countries. Thank you so much for listening to my podcast. Of course, at number 16, Colombia. Muchas gracias, Colombia. Number 17, South Africa. Thank you so much. Number 18, Uganda. I'm always on the top 50 on Apple chart in Uganda. Thank you so much. Number 90, Nigeria, as well as Nigeria. You always put me on the Apple chart, Nigeria. Thank you so much. As well as Pakistan at number 20. Thank you for being at number 15 on Apple chart. Number 21, Bhutan. Number 22, Denmark. Thank you so much. At number 23, Brazil. Obrigado, Brazil. Number 24, Turkey. Thank you so much. 25, Sierra Leone. Number 26, Israel. Number 27, Romania. Thank you, Romania. And number 50 on the Apple chart. Number 28, Switzerland. And number 29, Saudi Arabia. Shukran Jazilan, Saudi Arabia. And number 30, Netherlands. So, Mr. Horace, what age do you remember that you are good in writing?
Yes, I feel like I write with passion. I write with a sense of writing gives me um, a mechanism where I can feel like I'm in a different world. That's what writing presents, and I think if you talk to most of my counterparts in the writing profession, that's what it does for you. You know, it gives you a special high. It puts you on a, it gets just being able to write and put characters, make them real life. I think that's what writing affords us, and as a in the writing community, and of course it definitely that gift that we have. It I don't take it for granted, and it's something that I'm passionate about.
Yes, definitely. So, who encouraged you then to pursue your writing?
Yeah, it was more so my mother. My mother was an English teacher, and she definitely encouraged me, and my siblings to write. And she's always writing in her journal, and I think that's what compelled and inspired me to want to write.
So nowadays, because lots of people now doing independent publishing, are you willing to go to be independent publishing, or you just stay to a traditional publishing?
Well, I'm versatile in that respect, Daniel, because I've purchased books that have Blowing Sandstorm went through a traditional publishing route, and of course my second book, Half the Price of Horace, that book was self-published. So, and now the book that I'm working on now, I'm going to try the traditional route, but if resources come into play, I might just again consider self-publishing that book as well too.
So do you think what is the benefit of being independent publisher?
Well, you just have more freedoms. You're not confined as you would with a traditional publisher. That's one of the good. That's one of the benefits I consider with being self-published. But the only there are pros and cons with it. Of course, there's more control. You have the control of everything from royalties to what the content in the book. But when you're your own editor and you're everything. So, but that's also can be somewhat of a negative aspect of being a self-published author. Is you don't have it's not edited by by anyone from a publishing company. And of course, you know, like I say, that's probably the biggest disadvantage that you have, is that you don't necessarily have the, being self-published, you're not necessarily edited. Being self-published, especially if you get being going through the traditional publishing route, especially if you go with a reputable publishing company, then your work will definitely, you don't have to be a famous author. Sometimes it's just the publisher that you go with. So
Yes.
yeah. So if he went with Simon and Schuster, of course, I've never known any author to they're it's like always Simon and Schuster always has New York Times best-selling author
Still,
and
yes.
all that. So yeah.
So, do you think that nowadays, because we have independent publishing, quality of the books that they are publishing is getting lesser and lesser?
Well, yeah, I think it is, and I also mentioned the fact that it's so difficult to market on your own when you're self-published and independent published. It's just so I found the challenge is not writing the book, but the challenge is the marketing. If I could tell anyone, an aspiring author, that the writing is the easy part. Publishing is probably is easy too, but the difficult part is marketing, and that's one thing when you have a traditional publisher. You don't have to worry about that. They normally, the good ones. I mean, really, the really good ones. That that I alluded to earlier, the Simon and Schuster's, the big ones. Penguin Random,
Yes.
Penguin Random House. They signing their authors to these big contracts and everything, and so and so for us, the million or so of us that are the smaller authors and the lesser known authors, we don't get any opportunity. We're just like a fish, a little small fish
Yes, yes.
that's in a big ocean. Yeah.
That's why that's why, Mr. Horace, I created this podcast to empower writers like you.
Well, thank you, Daniel, and it is definitely we can't thank you enough. For what you're doing. So really appreciate it.
Yes. So, as an author, what is the best quality of being a novel or a stories that you can share to us?
Well, I think that if it's written from the heart, which I wrote Blowing Sandstorm from the heart, um, that is probably the best. In any reader, you pick up a novel and you'll see it. That if it's inspired, written from the heart, whether it's fiction, nonfiction, if the work is written from the heart, you can tell it. You can just tell from the passion that comes out of the words in the book. I think that that's so very important.
Definitely. A good example to that book of Harper Lee. She wrote only two books, but it's one of a kind. It becomes timeless because it comes with naturally, I think, with passion and everything. Those are good examples. So, people listening on my Book 101 review, I'm inviting you to listen to my other podcast, Food 101, on our third season with Chef Alessandro, one of the executive chef, five-star hotel in downtown Toronto. So, please do check out Food 101. So, Mr. Horace, Blowing Sandstorm, is there a sequel or a prequel?
There is going to be possibly a sequel to it. I said it'll probably be after I also have to get a sequel to my self-published work, Half the Prize winning Horace. That's gonna be coming out soon as well too. So, but yeah, Blowing Sandstorm. If anything, it'll be a sequel to it.
We will not giving a spoiler alert, but how would you connect the sequel or the prequel of the book?
Well, yeah. So just spinning off some of the experiences that, and it'll probably be not necessarily, of course, it won't be entitled Blowing Sandstorm, but I'm going to come up with another title for it, but it'll be similar to, in close proximity to that title, of Blowing Sandstorm. So yeah, it'll pick up, what basically what happened after redeployment back from Iraq. So that's where we'll pick up in life after that.
So if you want to modify Blowing Sandstorm, which part of the book you want to modify?
Well, I never really thought about that. I thought, I think that all aspects of the book, I probably would maybe, some of the military jargon, I probably would try to probably use less, military jargon, and try to make it reader friendly for the host. But I'm just, like I said, the overall theme was to be inspirational and be a motivational piece. So
I think so. Just use the layman terms that like people can understand, if I'm not mistaken.
yes.
So Blowing Sandstorm, where do people buy your book?
Yeah. So again, you can go on Amazon. Go on Amazon, or you can purchase on my website at HoraceCrenshaw.com.
Yes, people, let's support Mr. Horace Crenshaw because this book is award winning. So it must be read, people. What do you think the flow of the book?
Yeah, so the flow of it takes you from perspective of being of how you were raised, your upbringing, to the aspects of growth through institutional growth, and then actually being put in a situation where you train for the situation, and train for this event, and it happens, and then you're successful, which you didn't think that you were going to be successful. So it's a lot of transition in it. It goes from the stage when basically when you were born all the way until to now.
Yes, definitely. So what do you think the pitfalls of the book?
Well, the pitfalls of it is the fact that the logistical challenges that we experienced, and that the entire operation was fraught with failure. But that those are some of the major pitfalls within the book. I think that the overall operation was fraught with failure from the start. But of course, through sheer faith and determination, we were able to exceed expectations.
Yes, I think so. Did you, as a background of a military family, is your character in the book? Did you present it well?
Yes, I think I did. Yeah, I think that, and this, of course, from my perspective as the author, so it's a very, of course, probably a biased perspective. But yeah, I think I really did. I think I did present it very well. Of the character of what military service can bring. So yeah.
So what are the characters that you represented on the book?
Yeah, determination, perseverance, being able to do things in accordance with the standards, operating standards within the system, but also being able to rise above some of the restraints and the constraints that were challenges that we faced.
As a military leader, how would you encourage people out there to join the army?
Yeah, so I think that this book will motivate you to want to do something that you thought you could never do before. And so that's one of the major, I guess, uh, elements of it that could possibly draw in someone that's interested in a military service and service in the United States Army. So yeah.
Let's talk about after you've been to the service and after you finish working in Iraq. What are the challenges or the struggles after that?
Well, the struggles for veterans, what you find yourself is that um, getting yourself back immersed into society. When you're in a war zone and you're having bullets flying over you and explosions every 5 minutes, and that is probably the biggest challenge for all of us. Is of course some of us experience some of the post-traumatic stress that comes with military service, but that's getting back into society.
So how would you cope up with those challenges?
Again, you know, thinking, propelling yourself and compelling yourself to rise above those pitfalls and challenges. Yeah, that's encouraging yourself and having others encourage you too. So,
Is it included in the blowing sandstorms?
well, no, I don't talk. I didn't really talk about life after the military um, in the book. That would probably be the sequel.
Wow, that'd be awesome. Yes, it's like the way to your sequel and prequel of the book.
Yes,
Yeah,
absolutely.
that will be awesome because it's really help for people out there, for especially uh people working in the army and then they left the service, and they ask really a good tips for them. A- and
Absolutely.
I hope next time you're gonna do the sequel, you do the layman terms so that they may appreciate it.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Yeah.
So, Mr. Horace, once again, invite our listeners to buy your book.
Oh yeah. So yeah, definitely. I would really, really, really appreciate it. Be eternally grateful if all the listeners on this podcast would go out and purchase a copy of Blowing Sandstorm. You won't be able to put it down again. It'll inspire you. It'll motivate you. And it will give you some direction in whatever situation or lot you find yourself in life. So,
Yes, people, let's support Mr. Horace because Blowing Sandstorm is award-winning memoir. Okay, Mr. Horace, thank you for your time.
thank you so much, Daniel. I appreciate your support again. Thank you.
Welcome, people. See you soon.